the thing is, that particular incident was ironic and was a turning point for me because...
For years, Shania Twain has shared her music with the world, but some parts of her story were kept hidden in silence. Now, at 60, she is finally opening up about Ricky Nelson, a name surrounded by quiet curiosity and long-standing questions. Why did she never speak about it before? And what made her decide to tell the truth now? As Shania looks back on her life, her rise to fame, and the moments that shaped her journey, she reveals a side of her story fans have never heard. What she shares not only changes how we view her past, but also reveals the strength behind the woman who has conquered the music world. Shania Twain was born as Eileen Regina Edwards on August 28, 1965, in the quiet mining town of Windsor, Ontario, and was shaped by the stark, unforgiving landscape of Timmins, where she was raised. From those humble beginnings emerged a woman who would one day redefine country music and become one of its most successful female voices. Her rise was never just about talent. It was built on endurance, sacrifice, and a stubborn inner strength that refused to fade, no matter how heavy life became. Her childhood was defined by scarcity. There were days without enough food, clothes passed down and worn thin, and an early understanding that survival demanded toughness and adaptability. In the middle of that hardship, music became her shelter. Even as a young girl, she felt drawn to melodies and stories, sensing they offered a way out, if not physically, then emotionally. Before she was old enough to sit legally in a bar, she was already performing in them, singing late nights to help keep her family afloat. Home life was often unstable, shaped by tension and emotional strain, yet she held tightly to the belief that her voice could carry her somewhere beyond the limits of her surroundings. That belief was tested brutally at 21, when a sudden car accident took the lives of her parents. Overnight, she became the guardian of her younger siblings. Dreams of instant success were set aside as responsibility took priority. She accepted steady work, singing at Ontario's Deerhurst Resort, choosing security over ambition. Those years revealed more than her vocal ability. They exposed her deep resilience and willingness to sacrifice her own future to protect the ones she loved, laying the emotional foundation for everything that followed. Her long-awaited breakthrough arrived in the early 1990s when she signed with Mercury Records and stepped into a new identity, adopting the name Shania, a word rooted in Ojibwe that translates to "on my way." The name felt prophetic, a quiet promise that her years of struggle were finally leading somewhere. Her first album didn't set the charts on fire, but it served a greater purpose. It placed her in the path of producer Robert John "Mutt" Lang, who immediately recognized something rare in her voice and presence. What began as a creative collaboration soon became a partnership in life, and together they sparked a dramatic shift in country music's direction. Their work on The Woman in Me in 1995 blended country tradition with pop hooks and rock energy, creating a sound that felt daring and fresh. Songs like "Any Man of Mine Whose Bed Have Your Boots Been Under" and "You Win My Love" announced her arrival as a powerful new voice, not just in Nashville but far beyond it. Still, nothing prepared the world for what came next. Come On. Over in 1997 wasn't just an album, it was a cultural moment. It went on to become the most successful studio album ever released by a female artist, crossing genres and generations. With anthems like "Man, I Feel Like a Woman," "You're Still the One," and from this moment on, she didn't merely top charts, she rewrote expectations. Her videos became instantly recognizable, her fashion fearless, and her voice a rallying cry for confidence and self-expression. In breaking boundaries, she created a new artistic identity, one rooted in strength, independence, and honesty, proving that country music could be expansive, modern, and boldly inclusive. Even at the peak of her success, life refused to grow gentle. Her marriage unraveled in the wake of a devastating betrayal, and not long after, her health began to fail her in ways that cut far deeper than headlines could capture. Diagnosed with dysphonia and Lyme disease, she watched in fear as her voice, the very center of her identity, began to slip away. Singing, once as natural as breathing, became painful, uncertain, and at times impossible. Those years were marked by silence and self-doubt. Beyond the physical damage, there was the emotional weight of losing the one gift that had carried her out of hardship and into the world. For someone whose life had always been defined by resilience, this felt like the cruelest test of all. But surrender was never part of her nature. With relentless discipline, years of vocal therapy, and a stubborn belief in herself, she slowly learned how to sing again, rebuilding not just her voice, but her sense of worth. Her return with Now in 2017 was more than a new chapter in her catalog. It was a declaration of survival, proof that loss does not have to mean the end of purpose. In the years since, she has continued to evolve through Las Vegas residencies, fresh music, documentaries, and public appearances that honor both her past and her present. Her openness, humor, and grounded humility have connected her to a new generation of listeners. She stands today as a boundary breaker and a survivor, an artist who dared to defy the industry, and a woman whose journey offers hope to anyone learning how to begin again. At 60, Shania Twain speaks with a quiet honesty that feels earned. Time has softened her edges, but it has also given her the courage to finally talk about the moments and the voices that shaped her long road to becoming who she is today. In a recent conversation, she surprised fans by opening up about an influence she had kept close to her heart for decades: the late Ricky Nelson. She remembered being a small girl in Timmins, sitting on the floor in front of a flickering television, watching him perform. Whenever Nelson appeared on screen, something stirred inside her. His voice felt smooth and reassuring, his presence effortless, yet powerful. She didn't have the words for it then, but even as a child, she felt the pull of possibility. Watching him made her dream, not of fame, but of connection, of making people feel something real through music. This admiration, she explained, was never a fleeting childhood crush. It became a quiet foundation. Growing up with very little, enduring constant struggle, and later stepping into the role of caregiver after losing her parents in a tragic accident, music became her refuge. In those heavy years, Nelson's songs were a kind of emotional shelter, gentle, steady, and comforting. They reminded her that beauty still existed, even when life felt unbearably hard. As Twain grew older and found her own voice as a songwriter, her respect for Nelson only deepened. She began to recognize his subtle brilliance, the way he blended country, rockabilly, and pop without fanfare or force. He didn't announce himself as a pioneer, yet he quietly was one. That sense of freedom, that refusal to stay inside rigid lines, stayed with her. Looking back now, she sees the connection clearly. When she later fused country with pop and rock, breaking expectations along the way, she realized she was echoing a lesson first learned on that living room floor. Ricky Nelson didn't just inspire her. He showed her that crossing boundaries could feel natural, honest, and beautifully human. For decades, Shania Twain carried this influence quietly, choosing not to speak about it, partly out of modesty, and partly because her own rise happened so fast that there was little time to pause and look backward. But reaching 60, a birthday she now describes as strangely freeing, changed that. With it came a desire to openly honor the artists who silently helped steer her life. She explained that there comes a moment when truth feels less like exposure and more like self-respect. For years, she had shared her story in fragments, never quite naming this early influence. Now, she felt ready to give it voice. In her words, Ricky Nelson deserved to be acknowledged, not by history alone, but by her personally. That connection resurfaced during some of her hardest years, especially when Lyme disease threatened to take away the very thing that defined her. As her voice weakened and doubt crept in, she found herself returning to the music that first made her believe. Listening to Nelson again became an emotional anchor, pulling her back to the young girl who trusted music completely, before fear and loss complicated everything. Though she never met him, and his life was cut short in 1985, she believes his spirit lives on through her work. His influence, she says, is woven into her creative instincts, guiding her choices in ways she didn't fully understand until much later. As she looks ahead to new songs, new tours, and new chapters, she carries that influence with a sense of quiet gratitude. She admits she owes him more than words can capture. Long before she had a career, before she even knew where her path would lead, his music helped point her in the right direction. The truth is simple and deeply human. Ricky Nelson helped spark the fire that would one day make her the most successful female artist in country music history. By finally sharing this reflection, Twain does more than honor a legend. She reveals a long hidden layer of her own journey, reminding us that the voices we love in childhood often stay with us for life, guiding us, comforting us, and quietly shaping who we become, long before we understand their power. Shania Twain's personal life began to shift dramatically in the early 1990s, sparked by an encounter that would alter both her career and her heart. After the release of her self-titled debut, the album itself hinted at promise more than it revealed her full songwriting depth. Yet one listener heard something unmistakable. Robert John "Mutt" Lange, already renowned for shaping iconic records in rock and country rock, was drawn in by the quiet power of her voice, its warmth, strength, and emotional clarity. Intrigued, he reached out after hearing her original material, sensing not only a gifted singer, but a songwriter waiting to be fully unlocked. What began as a professional exchange soon turned into long, late-night phone calls stretched across distance and time. For months, they spoke without meeting, sharing ideas about melodies, lyrics, childhoods, and the futures they imagined. Those conversations carried a rare intimacy, fueled by creative curiosity and a growing emotional pull neither expected. When they finally met in person at Nashville's fanfare in June 1993, the moment felt inevitable. The connection that had lived in voices and words suddenly became real. There was an instant sense of familiarity and mutual respect, as if their paths had been quietly converging all along. From that point forward, their relationship moved quickly, driven by intense artistic chemistry and a deepening personal bond, one that would soon reshape her music, her life, and her sense of belonging in the world. On December 28, 1993, Shania Twain and Robert John "Mutt" Lange were married, marking the start of a partnership that would shape both her private world and her artistic legacy. Together, they went on to create era-defining albums such as The Woman in Me and Come On Over, records that would rewrite the rules of country pop and cement her place in music history. In August 2001, their son, Aja, was born, bringing a profound sense of joy at a time when Twain's career was soaring globally. Motherhood quickly became one of the most meaningful roles of her life, grounding her amid fame and constant motion. From the outside, their marriage appeared strong, built on creativity and shared success. Yet behind closed doors, quiet fractures were forming. In May 2008, the announcement of their separation stunned fans worldwide. The cause was a deeply personal betrayal. Lang's affair with Maria Thibault, a close friend and trusted member of Twain's inner circle. The pain cut deeply, not only as a wife, but as someone whose trust had been shattered twice over. Twain later spoke with raw honesty about the grief, isolation, and emotional disorientation that followed. Their divorce was finalized in June 2010, bringing an end to one of modern music's most influential creative and romantic unions. Still, life offered an unexpected turn toward healing. In a twist shaped by shared heartbreak, Twain found understanding and companionship with Frédéric Thibault, the former husband of the woman involved in the affair. From that shared pain grew a quieter, steadier love. By the end of 2010, their engagement was announced, and many saw in Twain's journey a powerful symbol of resilience, the courage to trust again after loss, and to choose hope over bitterness. The next chapter of Shania Twain's life began on January 1st, 2011, when she married Frédéric Thibault in an intimate romantic ceremony in Rincon, Puerto Rico. The setting reflected the meaning behind the moment, a quiet celebration of renewal after years marked by loss and upheaval. For Twain, it wasn't just a wedding, but a symbol of choosing hope again. Away from the spotlight, her life has long been guided by deeply personal values. A committed vegetarian, she has often linked that choice to both health and compassion, shaped by a childhood spent close to nature in rural Canada. She has also embraced Eastern spiritual practices centered on meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living. These beliefs, she has said, help steady her through fame's extremes, serious illness, and emotional heartbreak, offering balance when life felt overwhelming. Her empathy for struggle found a powerful outlet in 2010, when she founded Shania Kids Can, a charitable organization inspired by her own difficult upbringing. The initiative focuses on children facing poverty, neglect, and unstable home lives, those often overlooked by traditional support systems. By creating safe spaces and providing educational, emotional, and confidence-building resources, the program reflects her desire to protect others from the loneliness she once knew. That same spirit of honesty carried into her autobiography, From This Moment On, released in 2011. In its pages, Twain laid bare her journey, an unflinching account of childhood trauma, global success, personal betrayal, serious health battles, and emotional rebirth. The book resonated deeply, becoming a bestseller and revealing a woman defined not just by fame but by survival, growth, and hard-won peace.